The views expressed on the Own It podcast are that of Gunnar Esiason and his guests, and not necessarily those of the Boomer Esiason Foundation. Nothing in the Own It podcast should be considered medical advice. Such advice can only be given by a physician who is experienced with cystic fibrosis. The Boomer Esiason Foundation, Gunnar Esiason, and his guests cannot be held responsible for any damage which may result from using the information on this podcast without the permission of your medical doctor. You're listening to the Own It podcast, presented by the Boomer Esiason Foundation. Now, here's Gunnar Esiason.
Hello, everyone. I'm Gunnar Esiason, and thank you for joining us for episode 6 of the Own It audio podcast series presented by the Boomer Esiason Foundation and GunnarEsiason.com. This podcast, College Roommates Part 2, was made possible by an unrestricted educational grant from Novartis to the Boomer Esiason Foundation. We're back at it again with my college roommates, David O'Kane, Carmen Gatta, Matt Flynn, and Vince Love. Today we're going to talk about our relationships with each other in regards to my CF. These guys were a major part of my support system during my 4 years at Boston College, and I could not be more grateful that they stuck with me through the thick and thin. As I got older and my CF began to progress a bit, my friends, along with my sister, who was also a student at BC, were often the first line of defense in a never-ending war with CF. So guys, why don't you say hello to our listeners and remind them each when you lived with us, or when you lived with me, really.
Hey everyone, my name's David O'Kane. Been fortunate now to know Gunnar for over 10 years. We went to high school together on Long Island and then took our talents north to Boston College in Chestnut Hill, where I roomed with Gunnar all 4 years.
Hey everyone, this is Carmen Gatta. I happen to live across the hall from Gunnar and Dave our freshman year, and then I lived together with them sophomore, junior, and senior year.
Hey, this is Vince Love. I also met Gunnar freshman year and lived with Gunnar sophomore and senior year.
Hey guys, this is Matt Flynn. Thanks for having me back this week. I was fortunate enough to know Gunnar all 4 years of college, but being the first one to turn 21, it wasn't until junior year when I moved in with the guys so that I could finally buy everyone beer.
All right, thank you, Matt. Okay, so let's start with junior year then. When we moved to an off-campus apartment, I know my parents and my mom in particular was really concerned with the amount of space we were living in our ability, or lack thereof, I guess, as college dudes, to keep it fully stocked and clean. Can you guys talk about that a bit, about how our apartment had to be a little different than everyone else's, how it couldn't quite be the animal house, because you were living with someone with CF?
Yeah, I'll take that one. I think we were very fortunate to have the space that we had junior year because it was pretty newly renovated building with new amenities. So for the most part, everything was pretty clean, and it had tons of space for all of us to kind of, it's tough living in close quarters, just in college because people are constantly getting sick. So to be able to have your own space like we did was definitely something special, and it's pretty much a perfect living situation junior year.
Speaking more to that, do you guys have any memories about life outside of the dorm? Any intramural sports memories? What was it like to be on a team with someone who has CF?
Yeah, this is Vince. I mean, I wouldn't say it was any different than being on an intramural team with anyone else. Quickly, freshman year, we realized that we all played hockey and that we should get a intramural hockey team together. So we did that, and Gunnar was kind of the general manager and captain of the team, which was good and bad throughout the 4 years. It was a bit of a roller coaster for our team, top cheddar. But I don't think it was really any different playing with someone with CF as opposed to playing with someone without CF. I mean, you would call off while you would play, but you were involved the entire time and didn't really miss a shift. So I wouldn't say it was too much of an issue that you had CF to be able to be playing intramural sports, at least from our viewpoint.
Let's not leave out that we won a championship our freshman year either. So now, beyond that, you guys have all become really active with the Boomer Esiason Foundation. Among the four of you, there have been several marathon runners. We've also done bar events. We've done different fundraisers. Why did you guys want to take on that role?
Hey, this is Carmen. So I don't know. I think that we all just wanted to show you that we support you in your fight, and that we obviously wanted to be behind you and try and do whatever we can to help you in the fight with CF. And I don't know. It was kind of fun to rally around and just do something together, like a team effort, and just try and raise some money and have some fun along with that.
Obviously, the marathon's a pretty big deal up in Boston. Patriots Day, Marathon Monday. was it all three of you guys ran the Boston Marathon up there? Do you guys have any really specific memories from running with the Team Boomer shirt on?
Yeah, I ran the marathon sophomore year, and the whole thing was just an amazing experience. And I think the one thing that really stuck out to me was, for those of you who don't know much about the Boston Marathon, it runs right through BC's campus, right at mile 21, so a pretty pivotal point in the race. And when I came through BC, all the guys were there to cheer me on, and then Gunnar actually jumped in along with everyone else and ran with me for a little bit. Some of the guys, even Carmen and Flynn included, actually ran the rest of the 5 miles and finished with me. So it was a pretty amazing experience. And like Carmen was saying, really a team effort, and it was a ton of fun. So really happy to have that opportunity through Team Boomer and the Boomer Esiason Foundation.
And don't sell yourself short, Vince. You definitely were one of our biggest fundraisers at the time, as far as for a single event. And since then, you've been a part of the team, haven't you?
Yeah, no, I've tried to stay involved and continue to go to the events that we go to every year, the Refi Rocks in New York, and I've competed in a couple of the triathlons for Team Boomer. And actually this summer, me and Frank Nemia, who was another one of our friends from college, are going to be competing in the New York City Triathlon. So it's fun to stay involved and stay active with the foundation, especially when, as you said, we get to go to these great events and the Refi Rocks and all the things that the foundation does for the young professionals in New York.
Matt, you were a marathoner too for us, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. I mean, I think that obviously one of the things that Team Boomer pushes is the importance of exercise, and obviously we've all had very active lifestyles in college between intramurals, and I think that the Run to Breathe, any running event we've done, the marathons are all great microcosms of just kind of living a little bit of what someone with CF goes through, and we always said, marathon probably took 4 or 5 hours, but breathing a little heavy for a little while that day gives you time to think about it, and just taking that time to get behind something together and breathe a little heavy kind of was a good microcosm for what people with CF go through really all day, every day. So I think the marathons in particular were really special experiences for all of us. So those are things we really enjoyed, though, in terms of getting behind CF and the Boomer Esiason Foundation specifically.
And the CF community is very thankful of you guys, by the way. So now moving away from the Team Boomer events, do you guys have any specific memories from other events that we've done? Vince, you mentioned the Refi Rocks. I think you guys have all been to the Kentucky event with us, Boomer's Big Bang, and I think a few of you guys have even played in the golf tournaments or the bar events. Are there any memories that stick out specifically from these events over the years?
Yeah, I would say the Kentucky event is definitely one of my favorites, just because it's unlike a lot of the charity events you see out there. It's not often that you see a charity event to go around, doing sporting clays, shooting shotguns down in Kentucky. So I would definitely say that was one of the highlights. Just in general, that event was always a good time.
Yeah, it's certainly one of my favorite events too. So now I think we can all agree that I can get pretty stubborn sometimes when I get sick, and even more so when I get very, very sick. Were there ever any warning signs that you guys were able to pick up on? Gunnar might be getting sick now because of this happened. And then how did you go about handling that?
I can speak to that a little bit. I think some of the signs that I was always looking out for were I guess how much mucus you were spitting up in your cough, and then, if there's ever blood in it, God forbid, those were definitely red flags for all of us. And I guess we would either try and tell you that you need to maybe go get it checked out, or if you happen to be being a little stubborn at the time, we would tell your sister Sydney or even your parents to maybe get involved a little bit.
Yeah, I can definitely think of a few moments when the heat of college definitely gets in the way of my health care, and I think I definitely learned that lesson the hard way a few times, and I think I've definitely gotten better because of it. So now, do you think the rest of our friends have grown to have an appreciation quite to the level of you guys of the disease? I mean, you guys live day in and day out with it for several years. Dave, 4 years. Carmen, 3 years. Do you think the rest of our friends, the larger group of friends from Boston College, were able to understand what CF was really like?
I definitely think so. I think we put on so many events, and there's such a wide range of people that come to these events that definitely helps spread awareness. And then even at college, Team Gunnar was very involved up there, and we put on a lot of fun bar events for everyone. So it was a great way to introduce a lot of people to the disease, and I think it kind of just spread that way.
I think that a lot of people, especially like Dave said, when we were organizing new events, guys who were running the marathon, were able to get behind it as well. I remember when we did T-shirt sales, Team Boomer T-shirts junior year. Before Lululemon, there was Team Boomer shirts. It was like everyone on campus wanted one. That was probably one of our most successful fundraisers. So everybody, even not just the roommates, was able to get an appreciation for it and get behind it. And I feel like it was like you were seeing the shirts all over campus. So it was a lot of fun to see that, and I think a lot of people really did build an appreciation for it over the years as they come to learn more about it.
Yeah, I'd agree with them too, and I think that speaking on our first podcast that we did, like you're so open about doing your treatments and stuff, and us four aren't the only ones that have seen you do that day in and day out. You've had plenty of people in our rooms, and you've been so open to do it in front of other people. So I think that also shows them what it's like to be able to live with you.
Yeah, so you guys are sort of hitting at this the idea of teamwork, and everyone's part of the Team Boomer and Team Gunnar, and this whole aspect that no one fights CF alone. So there were definitely layers of you guys out there. You guys were the first layer. I was with my roommates, but then my sister was there. What kind of relationships did you guys have with my sister, and then also my parents, who also were all over you guys? I know about my health.
Well, obviously, I've known your family since I was a freshman in high school, so I feel like I've always been very close with your sister and your parents. So I always had a very open relationship with them. I was never hesitated to tell them if I thought something was wrong, or they would never hesitated to tell me if they thought I should be doing something different. So I think that kind of open relationship that we had was very beneficial, and it definitely ended up working out.
Did you ever feel like you were going behind my back when you wanted to tell my parents that something was going on,
yeah.
or did you feel like it was your responsibility?
It was definitely, at first I felt like I was going behind your back, but I definitely took it as my responsibility, and it was always the right thing to do. So as bad as I felt going behind your back, I knew it was definitely the right thing to be doing.
And I would definitely agree. With you. Yeah, but what about you other guys who didn't know me in high school? How did you guys get accepted into the CF family as the college years went on?
Yeah, I would say that the CF community in general was very receptive to us, always willing to help us just as much as we were willing to help the community as well. Especially your family, Gunnar, and talking with your mom and dad, they were always, asking us, was there anything that we needed for the room? How was the cleanliness of the room? Were you guys keeping up with it? How's Gunnar feeling? Is he acting okay? So we were definitely involved with the CF community early on.
Yeah, I definitely think I played a major hand in our success as a group of roommates. All right, so a little less serious here. I'll let you guys each take a little bit of a shot at me. You can each tell an embarrassing college story about me, something that I probably wouldn't write in my blog. So why don't you guys go ahead and take over, whoever wants to go.
An embarrassing college story.
we only get to pick one.
Yeah. How much time do we have?
Yeah, you have 2 minutes. Ready? Go as many as you want.
I'll kick this off with a short, easy, quick PG story. I think sophomore year, you were getting hungry and you wanted to make yourself a bowl of mac and cheese. So you went over into the kitchen, we're doing your thing, and I went in. You came back to the living room to do whatever, and I went into the kitchen, and I see a bowl or a pot, excuse me, the burner was on with the pasta, water, and a probably half a stick of butter floating in the water, and I was just pretty embarrassed to see that, and I don't know what the hell you were thinking when you were making the mac and cheese, but yeah, that's one thing that came to mind.
Yeah, Gunnar had some tough times in the kitchen. I walked in once and there were bubbles in the entire kitchen up to about our knees because Gunnar had put dishwashing soap into the dishwasher.
That was a tough day. That was a tough day for sure. That's where it's going to end right there. Okay. All right. So now moving on to some hypothetical situations for, let's say, someone's going to college with CF. Would you say that can someone who might be living with a person who has CF, how can that person prepare for it? What are some good tips for cleanliness and some good tips for the safety of the individual with CF?
I think that one thing that we were good about getting on each other for, your mom and dad would remind us, is making sure that we were all staying healthy ourselves, just because we know how susceptible a CF patient's immune system is. So I remember making our to-do list, things to bring to the dorm room. On it, one of them was get your flu shot before you go, things like that. So whenever any of us weren't feeling so hot, I think we're good about reminding each other, taking it upon ourselves to kind of quarantine ourselves, make sure that we don't get anyone else sick. Flu shots, things like that were good things that we're all good about reminding each other and preparing for.
Anyone else? Crickets, guys. You got to be better here. Okay, so now, do you guys think it's safe for people with CF to have roommates?
Yeah, I would definitely say it's not only safe, but it's definitely beneficial for people with CF to have roommates. I know we've talked about it before on this podcast and on the first one, just everyone getting into a routine and everyone kind of working together. Obviously, Gunnar's the one who has to do his treatments and take his enzymes and stuff, but we would all try and help and do our best to remind him if he's forgetting to do something, or trying to keep the apartment as clean as possible. I definitely think that it was probably beneficial for Gunnar to have roommates, and I don't want to speak for Gunnar, but I would assume it would make him feel like he had a more typical college experience. I think living in a dorm room by yourself in college could be a little bit difficult, just because everyone else is living with roommates and everyone else has someone there to talk to all the time. So I definitely would encourage people to live with roommates if they think they can.
Now, what about some social situations? Obviously, college is, for a lot of people, just as much as about class and academics as it is finding themselves in life. There are obviously a few scenarios where we were out, and there are obviously some hairy situations. Maybe someone lights up a cigarette, or someone is too intoxicated. How do you guys remember handling those situations around me?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just kind of knowing your surroundings. I remember there's a handful of times we'd be at parties or in basements of houses, that aren't very well ventilated areas, and some kids would be lighting up cigarettes, and I think we did a good job going over and kind of politely asking them to put it out. But I think going back to how open you've been with the disease and upfront with it with everyone, for the most part people knew and were aware of what was going on, so it never caused any issues, and seemed like everyone was on the same team.
I definitely agree. I feel like going back to the idea of teamwork and teammates, I felt like whenever we were going out, like in the middle of the night or out to different situations, it was nice to have other people with me, sort of as a safety blanket, but also as a buffer for bad situations, like people smoking cigarettes or whatever they were doing. All right, so we're sort of coming into the end of this one here. Do you guys have anything else you'd like to say about for someone who may be moving into a dorm, say this coming semester, with someone who is with someone that may have CF?
Yeah, I know we've pointed it out 1,001 times in this podcast and the one that we did last week, but I think you just got to be upfront with it. It's, like we said, no one fights alone. You want to bring as many people into it as possible, and I think if you get your friends and your family and everyone on the same page, it makes for not only a better college experience, but definitely a healthier one. So,
well, what are some steps someone can take to get everyone on the same page? How can, let's say for you guys, how did you guys make yourselves available to get on the same page with me and my family?
Well, we were very lucky. Your family's, extremely welcoming. I think they've welcomed all of our friends with open arms and kind of opened up a dialogue between us. So, like you said, we're a big team here, and I think it could be something as little as exchanging numbers and friendly texts and updating every once in a while, or it could be everyone going to dinner and kind of bonding that way. But I think there's different ways to do it, but the end goal is definitely the same.
All right, very cool. All right, so we're just about done here. I try to keep these things pretty short. Like I like to do with every podcast that we do here on the Own It audio podcast series, it's a time for our CF word association game. So for part 2, we will go with Vince and Matt, since David and Carmen have already got their shot last week. So like
Can I
last
get another
time,
shot?
nope, you had your shot and you blew it. You blew
All right, fair enough.
You blew it. So like last time, this should be just as interesting as it was last week, because these guys don't have CF and we're using CF catchphrases. So Vince, you will be going first.
All right, here we go.
First word is breathe.
Vertex.
Second word is mucus.
Cough.
Okay. Now, Matt, you're up. The first phrase is mobile treatments.
Awesome.
And then your last word is BEF, or phrase.
Great cause.
There you go. And that'll do it for you guys.
We're not very good.
Evidently, you are not. Okay, so again, thanks for listening to the Own It audio podcast series on GunnarEsiason.com. If you want to hear me podcast about something specifically or write about one of your topics in my next blog, you can always get a hold of me at Gunnar's blog at Esiason.org, or tweet me or message me on my Facebook like page. This is Gunnar Esiason signing off.
You've been listening to Gunnar Esiason's Own It podcast. If you would like more information on cystic fibrosis or the Boomer Esiason Foundation, please visit our website at www.esiason.org.